If you field fight in Rise of Kingdoms, there's a technique you've definitely seen, but almost nobody actually understands. Most people think it's just stacking marches or just playing zoomed in. It's not. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why it works, when it fails, and why players who figured it out early never wanted it to go public. This method changed field fighting for the better and allowed for micromanaging of marches. I'm gonna give you guys a full breakdown of the mechanics and give you hidden gems that nobody else has released yet, while sharing the story of how this became a mainstream method. If you watch my streams, you'll know that this change in field fighting brought back a spark for the game for me personally. After 5 years of playing the game, the state of field fighting became very stale, very dull, and extremely boring to both play and watch. I used to often complain about how I'm no longer watching my commanders fight, and I'm just simply watching icons fighting other icons, like emojis of swords and horses fighting emojis of bows and other swords and other horses. It felt repetitive, and I felt like it was just watching symbols move around the map instead of actually watching my troops fight. Don't get me wrong, strategic mode made sense. Being zoomed out gave you excellent visibility, especially when you're playing on the phone. You could see the field clearly and you could pick the targets properly. Back then, if you were a cav mainly player, it made sense for you to hit the archers, or if you were infantry, it made sense for you to hit the cav. Most players wanted to hit archers or weaker marches, so having a clean view mattered. You could position better, avoid clustering, and actually control where your marches are going instead of letting them blob together. Honestly, it was the correct way to play at that time. Field fighting was about discipline, hit and run, good positioning, pulling back early, and better players wasn't just doing fancy stuff, it was the one that was making fewer mistakes. That's how you got the good trades. But the longer I played, the more repetitive this became. It stopped feeling tactical. It stopped feeling personal. It was just an icon on the screen going closer to another icon on the screen, and we see a health bar that's going down. I questioned whether we hit the ceiling in field fighting in Rise of Kingdoms, and that this is it, and that it doesn't get any better. That's where I was messaged about the AFK method. At first, I was a bit skeptical. What's the AFK method? It has to be fake. You can't possibly fight AFK. But when I saw the footage, I was quite surprised. You have to bear in mind that this video was about 8 months ago, before any content creator created a guide about their discovery. I saw that bot was able to attack from a distance, safely. I saw that all his marches were stacked in one position, none of them out of position to get attacked from the sides, and I saw that he had some type of force field around his troops that allowed him to attack anybody that gets nearby. And the first thing that I thought was, wow, I definitely need to learn that. But as you might expect, learning it directly from bot who streamed it was not an option, as this method was clearly being gatekept to only those who know about it. And it would simply make the technique less useful if everybody used it. Honestly, it's understandable that they didn't share this technique with content creators, because as you might expect, as soon as it's shared, content creators would flock to make a video about it. And if you still don't know what I'm talking about, let me just show you guys a quick demonstration of how this changed the game, so you can understand better. The technique has two useful parts, and the second part is slightly more overpowered than the first part. The first part is allowing your troops to stack, which means they don't spread out, which means the ones that normally would spread out are safe and are tightly tucked in one spot. I have two clips playing on the screen, one with stacked marches and one with spread out marches, and as you guys can clearly see, the ones that are spread out are more likely to get attacked by a huge enemy wall. When you're spreading out, it's even worse to spread out with 6 or 7 marches, because that's when they really spread out. They fan all the way around the troops that you're attacking, which means at least 2 of your troops can get insta-nuked by the enemy lines. Now that part of the technique is pretty standard, and almost everybody now knows how to do this and why it works. Let's get to the second part, which is the part that makes this technique all the more powerful. I'm going to break it down to how it works, when it fails, and what to look out for when doing the technique. And to start with how it works, when you attack a march in the game, each of your marches have some type of programmed memory that registers the particular march that they attacked. The more marches you attack, the more of those marches it remembers. Think of it as a short-term memory of players that you attack in the game, and every time those players come near you, your marches will check that memory, acknowledge that they're inside the memory, and begin attacking them if they get nearby. Now bear in mind, I'm not even clicking to attack the marches after I've attacked them once. they're automatically attacking the march if it comes near my troops, kind of like the force field mod in Minecraft. This is perfect if you want to stay in your murder ball in a safe position and the enemy march keeps going back and forth whilst they attack you. It doesn't matter if they retreat. As soon as they come back, your marches will automatically attack them. And this can obviously be applied to multiple marches. As long as you keep attacking enemy marches, the more you attack, the bigger this list becomes. And then eventually all you need to do is sit tight and your troops will automatically start attacking marches that are on the list. And when you get really comfortable and really good at this, you can get amazing trades while your marches are automatically attacking anybody nearby. And I know you're probably wondering, wow, this technique is really broken. And it is, but there has to be some type of limitation. And there's also that as well. The truth is, it's not so easy to pull off this technique flawlessly, so let me show you where this technique falls short and where it fails most of the time. The first limitation is that when your troops are no longer actively attacking for about 6-7 seconds, the memory of the list that you have saved is completely wiped, so it no longer remembers your previously attacked players. It gets completely wiped and you have to start from a fresh state again. So this method is not completely AFK if that's what you thought it would be. You would have to keep rotating and keep attacking players if the players are no longer coming back to attack you, and if you see that your marches are just AFK sitting around. The second limitation is that if the last march you attack dies whilst you're attacking it, even if it dies by someone else's hand, by someone else swarming it, the list is again wiped. Anything that triggers a battle report notification to pop up will reset the list, so you will have to generate this list of attacked players again. And to avoid this, you must rotate to other marches before any of the marches you attack die. In this example I'm showing on the screen, the only reason I was able to spam skill cycles here is because I had a large list of players on my attack list and none of them stayed enough to die. They all returned when they were either yellow or white, so my skills were literally dumping cycles non-stop, which made it seem like it was an AFK method. This is also another reason why it's more difficult to pull this off in an Imperium KVK, because most players in Imperium Kingdoms tend to stay until their troops die. They are told by R4 officers to not retreat when yellow, but to kill their troops. I'm also going to give you guys the most optimal graphic settings to allow you guys to do this method flawlessly. But before that, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to both Bot Impossible and Enzo, who I believe pioneered this method and popularized it. I don't believe anybody does it better than those two. So before I share my best optimal settings for this method, I will ask Enzo directly for his blessings and ask him a few questions.
But yeah, that's where I did learn the stack method. I mean, I call it stack method or whatever people want to call it, but that's where I learned this method of fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's really OP.
Yeah.
Right? So,
do you believe you were the first one to stream it?
honestly, I did not watch every single live stream I can find on YouTube. So I can't assume anything, but I can maybe assume something is that I am maybe the one who make this method of fighting popular around the rogue game overall. In my opinion, I am the guy who make this method of fighting become really popular everywhere on this game. Do I'm the only one? Do I'm the first one who have been streaming it? Maybe yes, maybe not. Who knows? I did not make my research myself, so I can't assume anything.
Yeah.
Possible. Who knows?
Personally, I think it's a good thing that more people are using it now, because it makes other people now think outside the box. Think, what do we need to do next to basically counter this? You know, when more people are using this method, it shifts the field fighting meta. The fighting meta is different now. It used to be just, zoomed out. Everybody's trying to, hit and run whilst looking at icons. Now, some people are doing the stack method. So now people are thinking of other ways to counter the stack method. Do you think that this changed field fighting for the better or for the worse, it becoming popular?
I think with this method of fighting, the game become more an a point competition at some point. My opinion, like when you think about it, before you was doing in zoom-in fighting, right? You was doing back and forth every single time, back and forth over and over and over. Now, if you're using the stack method of fighting, 1 second or even less than 1 second, you can make a mistake, and one or even multiple of your march can be done on the field and you die. Which means, at the end of the day, I think this method of fighting make the game competitive, right, for everyone. And also, it's making more KP at less time compared before. Because if you do back and forth, and now you do the stack method, your KP increase way better every single second. Because if you do back and forth, basically you stop your rage and you stop making damage on enemies. So if you do stack methods, your march gonna be constantly making damage, which means KP. But honestly, I think this method make the game more competitive now at some point, right? Even on the biggest Imperium KVKs, I think it make the game more solid and the field more interesting for everyone.
Sounds good.
this is a bit of a personal one for me. You know that I found out about this method quite some time ago, and I was one of the first content creators to basically find it and not really do anything about it, not release it, not show it. Maybe I streamed it here and there, but I didn't really speak about it. Because I kept to my promise of not releasing much, do I have your blessings? You know, not make a guide about it, but maybe break it down and then also show the settings as well. Like how to do the settings in the best way possible.
You have absolutely every door open. Like, I don't get this method as mine or anything. So at some point, it's absolutely up to you. Also, if I can tell you something, is that I don't see anywhere on any channel who make a pure videos about this method of fighting and share the settings. I don't see anyone. I could be wrong. Maybe some people did, but from my eyes, I don't see anyone did it. So you can make it. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Tips about it. But yeah, you can share absolutely the setting. Up to you. Do it, and people. I'm sure people will love it.
And that was the GOAT Enzo himself live on an interview. As for the settings, they're nothing crazy, but they make such a huge difference if you want to get into this type of field fighting. As you know, every small difference makes a big impact in the field. And for me personally, this is what makes sense. This is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I currently use. The first part of my settings is I make sure that I'm on the original map layout because the remastered version has way too many structures that block your view, like trees and other structures around the map. To make the computer run more smoothly, I also put the combat VFX quality to low. I also put the combat density to very low so it's easier to see all the troops around the map. This setting is probably the most important for visibility, but you need to hide both enemy troops and allied troops names so that their names don't pop up on the screen and block your view. Next is unit models per troop, which I keep at very few. But if you're running light mode, it will automatically trigger this option, so it doesn't really matter if you trigger it or not. This was a game changer for me because I used to misclick very often when I move the mouse. Choose the second option for the mouse left click. This will help you a ton to control your marches and not allow you to misclick and move the camera screen around. In my shortcuts, I don't really have much. It's pretty straightforward. I use Shift Q, Shift W, and Shift E to add to my formations. And to select formation, it's obviously Q, W, and E. And this helps me micromanage my troops and allow me to select specific troops to a specific keybind and allows me to control those troops with that specific keybind. And as for some of the last settings, I do toggle light mode on so I can toggle it on and off on the main menu. And I toggle the hold position after attack option because I don't want my troops to return after they kill someone. Instead, I want them to hold still and keep attacking. And as for the quick command, I untoggle everything when I'm fighting, especially the aligned troops section, because you don't want to get alerts to confirm whether you want to attack an allied campmate. And that's what usually happens in KVK if you have that toggled on. And that's pretty much it for me. That's what works for me personally. If you're still struggling with any of those settings, feel free to hop on a time when I'm streaming and I would gladly go over them to help you adjust. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and a nice comment below to help the algorithm. Much appreciated for the support as always, and I'll see you guys on the next one.